taking out my hair because we're going to watch this, and it's a long one. It's a long one in multiple parts, and somehow it just keeps getting worse. And then we're going to talk, and then, Lord, there's an update. So then we're going to talk about that. But just be prepared. It's a doozy.
So 2018, when my husband and I first separated, once we got back together, I ended up getting pregnant. Honestly, it wasn't really the best time because we were trying to work on our marriage, rekindle our intimacy, and now we have to also worry about having another baby. So we tried to make it work and just focus on ourselves. But honestly, me being pregnant and my husband was trying to work through things and his own feelings. And he kind of got to a place where he was like, look, it's too little too late. And he let me know, like, look, I just can't do this anymore. First sonogram that I got, I sent it to my husband and he didn't even respond. Like, that's how clocked out he was of our relationship. And it wasn't until I want to say like a month or two, maybe 3 months later, that I found out that he was talking to someone at his job and they were in a relationship. For the whole duration of my pregnancy, he is with that woman and we have not communicated at all. No calls, no texts. He doesn't know anything about the baby. I don't know what's going on outside of like when I have conversations with his mom and his mom is kind of telling me things. I'm believing that God is going to restore us, that he's going to change things around. And it was hard because I'm pregnant, I'm hormonal, and I love his mom. But there were even moments where talking to his mom was kind of detrimental for me because she would tell me things like, oh, they're having fun and they really like each other. So in my mind, I'm thinking he's in love with her and this is it. Like, our marriage is over. And I want to also say that throughout this time, even though I wasn't talking to my husband, the Holy Spirit would tell me a lot of things. Like, sometimes I would have dreams about my husband and the Lord would just speak to me through scripture. And there were times where God would give me dreams or give me scripture, and then his mom would end up telling me something that confirmed exactly what God would tell me. So even though one part of me thought, okay, our marriage is over and he wants this other woman, I also knew that the truth of the matter was their relationship was very toxic. So fast forward now, I'm at the end of my pregnancy, and one night I'm watching this prophetic video. And at the time, I didn't really like prophetic videos too much. I was very aware that some of these prophets are false. So I didn't really take a lot of these videos too seriously. But this night, one of the videos, they were talking about that God was going to do something in 3 days. For some reason, it stuck with me. And I took mental note, okay, 3 days, something is going to happen. So the third day comes and I'm eating my bowl of cereal at night like I normally did. It was like 11 o'clock and I'm getting ready to get into bed. And I lift my leg up to get into the bed and I felt like this sharp pain, in my abdomen area. I get up and I walk to the bathroom. I go sit down and a gush of water comes out. My water breaks. So I'm sitting on the toilet. I'm calling out to my mom. She comes running out. Her first thing is, well, I'm going to go tell Donnie. And in my mind, I'm like, do not call this man. We have not talked in all the time that I've been pregnant. He's probably not going to show up. He wants nothing to do with us. She decides to go ahead and call my husband anyway. So now I'm on the toilet trying to figure out how I'm going to get up and, get downstairs. I'm leaking everywhere. I'm worried about what is my husband going to think. I don't want him to think that I'm pressuring him to be there. And my mom is real adamant and I'm nervous because my first son was an emergency C-section. So I've never had to push a baby out. There was a lot going on in my mind. My mom wakes my dad up to let him know that I'm in labor right now. And she grabs my hospital bag up. We walk outside to go put the stuff in the car. And I look out into the street and I see my husband's car is parked there. So I'll come back for part 2 so I can share what happens once I realize. So I see my husband standing out there. I get on my dad's van and we head to the hospital. Whole time we're on the way to the hospital, I keep looking back in the rearview mirror and seeing my husband just keeping up with my dad. So I get to the emergency room, they put us in a wheelchair, and now we're just waiting for them to bring me into a room. So as I'm sitting there, my husband is there with us, but we're not saying a word to each other. So I changed into the gown and things like that. Once I changed into the gown, they basically allowed me to walk through the hallways to kind of make the labor progress. As I'm walking in the hallways, my mom is behind me and my husband is sitting on a chair. They had some chairs up against the wall and he's knocked out because he was working overnight job. Mind you, it is 11 o'clock. So he's literally snoring out loud. I'm walking, contractions are coming on strong. So we finally get back to the room. My husband is also sitting in the room and my mom is there with me and I'm still walking around because now I'm the contractions are hitting real bad. So I'm where's the epidural? Now I'm sitting on the hospital bed about to get the epidural and they tell you don't move because it could hit a nerve or something like that. And the doctor ends up telling my husband, oh, come and hold her. This doctor doesn't know how my husband and I are, that we haven't talked. So my husband comes over and he just holds on to me. And y'all, I swear, when he put his hands on me, it brought me so much peace. I felt so much more comfortable. It was once I get the epidural, I'm just laying there. My husband is still there. He's still sitting in that chair. We're not talking. My mom is not really talking to me. And we're just waiting for my cervix to dilate even more. After about an hour, my cervix is dilated completely. And I end up starting to push. So I push, the baby comes out. Y'all, I have no idea what's going on with my husband or my mom or anybody. I'm I'm just tired. Fast forward now, they move us to the room after you give birth. I forget what the room is called. And my mom ends up leaving. My husband ends up leaving. So I never get to tell him, like, I want you to stay. We had zero conversation. My mom ends up FaceTiming me and basically just trying to say goodnight for the night because she knew, like, nobody was coming back. And I wasn't expecting anybody to. So here I am preparing to be with my baby by myself for the first night. And mentally, I was ready. I was like, all right, this is just what it is. So I turn the TV on. I'm laying in the bed watching the TV, and I hear a knock at the door. I'm thinking it's the nurse, because y'all know when you have babies, the nurses are coming in and out constantly all day. And there is a curtain right in front of the door. So the person opens the door and walks in. I still can't see them until they pull the curtain back. They pull the curtain back, and it's my husband, y'all. And not only is it just him, he has a bouquet of flowers in his hand. So I am completely shocked. He walks in, he sits on the bed in front of me, and for like 30 seconds, we're just looking at each other, just silent. He hands me the flowers, I take them, I put them on the table, and we're back to silence again. So he starts to talk to me. I remember specifically what he said he was doing before he had got to the hospital. So he said he was in the shower, and he was on his way to go be with the woman that he was with. And he said something in him was telling him, I don't want to go be with her. I want to go be with my wife. I want to go be with Zaisha. He said he called his mom and told his mom how he felt. And his mom said, well, then go be with your wife. So he said he got out of the shower, went to go grab some flowers, and came to me. And right after that conversation, it was like nothing had ever happened. It was like we were not separated. It was like we hadn't stopped talking. He ended up picking up the baby and sitting next to me, and he was trying to help me breastfeed, y'all. And all I could think about was the prophetic word that I saw, that in 3 days something was going to happen. And on the third day, that is exactly what happened. The next day we get up and we're sitting in the hospital bed, and it's like kind of early in the day, and my husband is sitting next to me and he's on his phone, and I notice that her name pops up on the screen. I don't tell him that I noticed this. I just take note of it, and I'm kind of discouraged, but I'm like, you know, whatever, I'm gonna let it go. So the next day we spend the whole day at the hospital because our son had jaundice, and then they finally let us go towards the end of the day. So he drives us back to my mom's house and he ends up leaving. I'm thinking that, okay, this is it. Like, everything's okay. He's going to stop talking to this woman. And no, that is not what happened. I want to say for the next couple of weeks, I honestly can't remember how long it was, but there were moments where he would show up to spend time with me and the baby and to see, you know, our oldest son. And then he would go and leave to go be with her. And I specifically remember one time we're all laying in the bed together, and it just felt so comfortable. It felt so right. And he ends up getting a call. And I knew that it was her. And as soon as he got off the phone, he was like, I gotta go. I was so discouraged that at one point I sent him a text, and I basically was like, you win. Like, we can get a divorce. I'm not fighting for this anymore. I remember he texted me and was like, okay, Zaisha. Just very upset. But God used my text message and he turned it all around for our good. So come back for part 3 so I can finish telling you how this story ends. I tell my husband, you win, we can get a divorce. He's upset. I don't understand why. And a couple of days later, he reaches out to me and says, hey, I want to come get our oldest son to bring him with me to my mom's house to spend time with my family. And I was like, okay, great. And yes, I was kind of worried that he would be around that other woman because I didn't want my son to be around her. I didn't really know her like that, but I put my trust in God, and I believe that, look, if anything is going to happen that is not going to benefit my son, I know that you would stop it and you're not going to allow it, so I'm going to just trust you. So later that evening, I'm watching a video again on YouTube, this woman that I trust, and she's talking about what it's like when you are married and separated and what you're supposed to be like when your husband comes back. Basically being like the prodigal son's father and just having open arms. She was saying that we need to be compassionate and showing mercy and being gracious, and I knew all of that, but as I'm listening to it, I hear the Holy Spirit tell me, when he comes back, give him a hug. I'm terrified, y'all. I'm terrified because, again, we're not on that type of time. We have not physically touched each other since he was in the hospital with me, holding me for the epidural. But again, I was very obedient to the Lord. Whatever the Lord needed me to do, I was going to do it. No shame, no pride. So my husband gets here and he walks in the door, puts my son's stuff in, bring my son upstairs, and he's still downstairs waiting. So I walk back down the steps and he's getting ready to leave, and I just hug him. I just wrap my arms around him and I hold him, and he's just holding on tight. He doesn't even let go. And as I'm holding him, I can feel that he needed it. I just knew that he needed it. And he says to me, well, what is this for? And I was like, oh, nothing. Like, I just feel like you needed it. I just feel like you needed a hug. He's like, okay, well, thanks. You know, upstairs, I call his mom, like, he just came over. I gave him a hug. Like, he didn't fight it. Like, I feel like he needed it. And she was like, tell him to come back. And I'm like, okay, like, why not? My mother-in-law lives 30 minutes away, and that's where my husband was living at the time. So he had to drive 30 minutes from my house to get to his mom's. So I hurry up and I text him. I'm like, hey, can you come back? Like, can you stay here? And he's like, I'm already home. So I'm thinking the conversation is going to end, but he continues to text me and tells me that he's had dreams about me and he's just been feeling all these things. And I'm like, okay, great. Like, what are the dreams? Like, how do you feel about it? And he's just kind of speaking really like in a cryptic way. But again, I'm not trying to push boundaries. I really just want him to lead. And as he's sharing these dreams with me and what he feels and what he thinks it means, he ends up telling me, like, look, I want my family back. I want to be back with you guys. I need my family. And it almost felt like it was too good to be true, because I go through this situation at the hospital. I'm thinking God done it already just for him to leave the hospital, and he's still talking to this woman. And now here he is saying he wants his family. So he tells me that he's going to come over tomorrow. The next day comes and I'm waiting for him hours long, and I don't know where he's at. I'm texting him. He's not responding. So he finally gets to my mom's house, and he admits that he had been over at the other woman's house because he felt like he needed to give her closure, because he had ended their relationship abruptly and he knew that she was feeling some type of way. Now, in my mind, I'm like, she don't need no closure. I'm your wife. But I also understood that they had been together for almost 9 months, and so there was still something there. And after that, we laid in that bed. I laid on his chest, and he just told me how much he missed us and how much he loves me, and he kind of just poured his heart out to me. And I started to tell him all the different things that God told me, all the things God shared with me about us and being restored, and how God had even used my son one time. And he's just laying there, and I don't know what he was thinking. I should ask him one day, but he was kind of laying there like, okay, whatever. But I could tell he was at peace just being with his family. Now I was in a place where I realized we were restored, and I think that I was moving a little too fast, because I was like, let's go on dates, let's go to the movies, and he wasn't ready. And so he ended up telling me one time, like, Zay, it's too soon for this. Like, I can't just pretend like I'm still not feeling some type of way about you. I can't pretend that I'm not, like, grieving this other woman. Like, I just need some time. So a week goes by where we do not talk at all. And at the end of that week, he sends me a message and says, I think we should be friends. And y'all, I almost lost it. I'm like, ain't no way I'm going to be right back in this place where this man just wants to be friends. So I texted him. I said, you only want to be friends? He's like, no, dummy. I want us to rebuild our friendship. I want us to start being friends again. And y'all, we've been together ever since. And no, it hasn't been easy. There's been a lot of warfare, a lot of forgiveness. There's been a lot that has gone into both he and I growing and being where we are right now. And it even was at the point where he was explaining to me, you know, what that relationship was like for him and what they went through and how much they argued and how much they fought. And it was just very, very toxic. And so I pray that y'all hearing this, I know it's crazy, but just understanding how good God is and how faithful God is, because 6 years now, I'm not worried about that woman. I trust him. I don't think about her like I used to. It doesn't bother me anymore, because I know where God has brought us from and where we are at now. So God bless y'all. Those of you that are still standing for your marriages, I'm praying that you just keep the faith and you keep trusting in God, because he can do it.
If my hair looks a little different in this video than in the last one, that's because I technically already recorded this video hours ago, and in me editing, I realized that somehow all of the audio of just this segment gone. I hate technology. I hate technology with every ounce of every cell that I could ever possibly have. So I'm going to try my best to recap everything that I said in that video that is now mute. But before I do that, hello, for the people that are new here. My name is Shayna. Oh, I'm just gonna close that laptop up full of my rage. Hi, my name is Shayna. I am a journalist. I talk a lot about decentering men, child-free living, all that sexy stuff. So if any of that sounds like a vibe, please like, share, subscribe. And two things. One, if any of you are interested in cocktails, spirits, anything like that, and you want to know about the new hot stuff that's going to be on the market that nobody else knows about, but I will, because I get to be at Tales of the Cocktail this year because I'm up for a nomination. Who knows? Maybe I'll win it. Maybe I won't. Life's crazy. But if any of that sounds interesting, please type your favorite spirit, your favorite cocktail, your favorite whatever that you want more information about below, so that way I can get the information directly to you. And maybe share some like fun behind the scenes facts about whatever, right? So that's one. Two, if you are interested in a writing masterclass with me or writing one-on-ones, please also sound off in the comment section, because I'm trying to figure out how to make a masterclass so that way people can not just like get the information that I have, but also maybe pair up, make small groups, get accountability buddies, that kind of a thing. So sound off on that in the comment section also. But now let's get into this handy dandy again. Point one, Christianity can make you Delulu. This lady has no touch on reality. She is full on saying the math is right in front of her. The math is right in front of her, and she's not looking at it. She's not looking on it. And I understand that reality and faith can be opposites, right? To a degree, they can be opposites. But if you are looking at a piece of paper, if you are in the middle of a test and it says 2 + 2, and you're like, oh, I'm gonna get a fish. I'm gonna get a chicken, a live chicken. And then the teacher says, I'm sorry, that's not the, it's like, no. I'm going to get a chicken out of this math equation or so. And then you fail the test. You can't be mad at the teacher. You can't be mad at the paper. All you could do is be mad at you because the facts were right in front of this lady the entire time, but she was trying to make a chicken out of 2 + 2. And then on top of that, he was not there for any, we're talking about facts, right? She's trying to say, oh, this is the marriage that I'm supposed to be in. This is the pain that I am supposed to bear for the sake of what? Who knows? Honestly, she doesn't even know, but we're moving on from that. He actively was not there for any of her pregnancy. He was actively cheating during that time. He does not want her or that child. He was actively and intentionally not there for the most sensitive time in her life, the most dangerous time in her life. As a Black woman, the Black woman's mortality rates are so high. She could have died at any point of that pregnancy, and he chose not just to not be there, but to actively be with somebody else during that time. He does not care about her. He does not care about that child. He does not care about their relationship or their marriage. He made that abundantly clear. And she said, I want that chicken. Next point in the handy dandy notebook. The husband comes and holds her during the epidural, and she was thankful for them crumbs. But you know what? It's less than crumbs, because she made it into a big deal that he was holding her. No, he was following the instructions of another man that he respects. The doctor said, hey, hold your wife so that way I don't stab the wrong nerve or whatever happens in an epidural. I'm so sorry. I have had a spinal tap once. I want to say it's something similar to that. Who knows, right? But not me. But he was just like, oh, I'm going to do the thing that man that I respect said to do. And she was there swooning because she's like, oh my God, I could just feel that chicken. That chicken is clucking right next to me. And I knew it was... She was making a mountain out of negative crumbs. It was not a sign. He was just doing what he was supposed to do. That's all. And then you fast forward, and then he comes in with flowers, and she is so thankful. I got all caps, crumbs. She was so thankful for those flowers, thinking that it means something, thinking that, oh my goodness, he clearly cares. He clearly loves. $5 out of CVS. $5 at a CVS after he was not just actively cheat, he was intentionally cheating on her. That a few minutes, maybe a few hours, who knows how long her labor was. Actively and then he dared to tell her, hey, just so you know, I was waking up this morning, and you know how I haven't spoken to you for the entirety of her pregnancy? I was thinking about doing the exact same thing today because I really like that other lady, but I thought, where's my wife? So then I called my mom, and my mom was like, I don't know, do what you want to do. You want to see with your wife? Go be with your wife. You don't want to be with your wife, don't be with your wife. His mom is a pick-me, an absolute pick-me, but I want to say I get into that. I don't know at which point in the other segments that I made, but his mom is an absolute pick-me. His mom is down for whatever he's down for. There's no sense of morals. There's no sense of justice. There's no sense of, oh, I raised you to be a better person than this. There's no sense of integrity. It's just, oh my God, whatever my son wants, he wants. He wants to stay at my place while actively cheating on his wife. Oh my God, absolutely. And then she goes and tells the lady, oh my gosh, he really likes that other lady more than you. Maybe you should do something to make him... But she's not even implying that the wife should do something to make him pick her. Because the mom is also a massive pick. This lady. It's giving pick me. But also, as I've discussed a couple of times, it's a big thing in the church. Hey, listen, don't hate me. Don't hate me. I grew up in the church. I've seen it. I know what it is. I've read the Bible far too many times for my own good. Anyway. But yeah. It's battles of the pick me. And the most indecisive man, the level of avoidant that this man is, it is like he is the opposite of every magnet on the planet. He's just propelling himself into the stratosphere somehow, but they are chasing for his approval, for his short attention. And he told her about this shortly after she gave birth, as she is still wearing off the drugs. There's still pain. The baby's right there. And he's like, just so you know, I woke up this morning and I said, I'm going to be with literally not you. But I thought you should know that. And the flip-flopping between her and the other lady in her face. Let's talk about self-worth for a hot second, because the level of self-worth that this lady has is actually what is in hell. Now, once again, we are not saying this. I am not saying this. This is not part of the discussion to shame this woman, to bash on this woman. No. This is a conversation, so that way if you happen to be in a similar or tangential situation, we can learn from somebody else's mistakes, because there's nothing wrong with making a mistake. But if you are making the same mistake that somebody else made that you knew about, then you're making a choice. So this conversation is to help people make better choices, different choices that are ideally better. And how do you make better choices? Value yourself more. Love yourself more, want more for yourself, have a higher sense of self-worth than this person is expressing. And very briefly, when it comes to worth, value, womanhood, especially within a realm in which this lady is intersectionally marginalized, and with Christianity, and with what that implies and people are taught that means in marriage, and the value that people put, well, listen, one of the fruits of the Spirit is long suffering. And they really emphasize that, especially for Black women, especially, and not just the long suffering, but also you got to think about like the grace and the forgiveness and you need to stand behind, and he's the head and you are the neck. He is the church. He is you are the bride and he is the bridegroom. Yes, that is Christ, but there's a whole lot of men that conflate I am the Christ of this family. Yes, she should consistently. It's a whole messed up situation. It's a whole messed up situation that basically says, encourages women to not leave for anything. But the more long suffering you have, the more blessings you get. So guess what? She's got 12 fruit trucks worth of the fruits of long suffering. And what is that going to get her? What is that going to get her except therapy maybe 5 years down the line? Lane, I don't know. Now, fast forward. I can't remember where in the story she says this, but somebody said, I think she said that she was looking for like prophetic podcasters or YouTube makers or whatever, right? She was looking for a sign that that her cheating, philandering husband was going to be okay, that her dead in the ground marriage was somehow still alive, right? So she goes and she finds somebody and they start talking about the prodigal son. And she relates that prodigal son to her philandering husband. Now, for those of you who are unfamiliar, I would like to really break down how insane of a connection it is to put the prodigal son parable into her situation. To paraphrase, there's a rich guy out in he owns like a lot of sheep, farmland, whatever. He's got 2 sons. One son says, "Dad, F you." I'm trying to keep this PG-ish, right? But he basically says, "Dad, I hate you. I hate your guts. Give me my inheritance now," which you're only supposed to get after your dad has already died. So basically saying, hey, I wish that you were dead, but since you're not, give me the money that you would give me if you died, because that would have been like the bee's knees. I want to go out, live my life. Dad says, you know what? Sure. Here's your inheritance. Do what you want. He says, bye, Dad. By the way, you suck. And then he goes out, spends it on OnlyFans models, spends it on living lavishly, living La Chita Loca. He spends it on absolute chaos, right? Not to say that OnlyFans people are chaos, but like imagine if you're like, 22 and you get $700,000 and you're like, I know what I'm going to do with this because I'm a grown man, right? That's what he does. So fast forward, a couple months goes by, he has nothing to show for it. All of the friends that he was doing chaos with, they don't care about him anymore. Why? Because he's broke. So he is living amongst pigs and fighting pigs for the kernels that the pigs have. And people go, ew, that's nasty. And he's like, you know what? I'm going to go back to my dad's because like even the servants don't have to eat like pig slop, right? So he goes back to the dad's, and the dad sees him coming from over the hill, and the dad says, "Oh my God, my baby boy!" So the dad picks up his like skirt, shawl, whatever, and runs to the son and like throws his arms around him. He's like, "Oh my God, my son is back!" And then he's like, "Oh my God, Dad, I disrespected you so much." And then he was like, "Oh, but you were lost, but now you're here, and we need to celebrate because my son is found. He's gonna come back home." And so the dad throws this huge party to celebrate the son coming back and all of this stuff, right? Now there's another part of the story that talks about the other son that was always there, always faithful and respectful to the dad, but that's not really the point of this story. She was talking about her being the father and her husband being the prodigal son. The son that said, "Hey, I wish you were dead so that I could get this money. And since you're not, give me what I want so I could go mess around, disrespect you, the mother of my children. I want to be out in these streets and I want your blessing to do so. And you know what? It's not giving as much as it did before. So I'm going to come back and I'm going to need you to pick up your skirt and run a couple miles, couple kilometers, and embrace me with open arms to come back into the house. And all I got for you is an I'm sorry." Right? This, in relation to the spirit of long suffering, there are a bunch of other tangential connectors in the Bible that unfortunately a lot of women are taught to connect in order to stay in the inner circle of men's disrespect and chaos in their lives, especially when it comes to marriage. People say, "Oh my gosh, she's just building up the fruits of the spirit. Oh, she's building herself up in patience. Oh, she's building herself up in gentleness. She's building herself up in forgiveness. Long suffering. She got a whole fruit stand all on her own." Praise God. Now let's just talk about that avoidant and insecure, anxious attachment style. Because he knows she's not going anywhere. He has more than enough evidence through dragging her through the mud in the most sensitive time of her life. And in the midst of all of that, all she's thinking about is him. All her actions are leading toward is him. And all he's doing is flip-flopping. Flip-flopping. Oh, I don't know. Maybe this, maybe that. I don't know. No. Yeah. That's all he's been doing during the most sensitive time of her life. And I just really want to point out when she mentioned in the very end, warfare and forgiveness. In the past 6 years of their marriage, she's like, "You know what? I don't worry about that other woman anymore. You don't have to. There will be others." I'm not wishing that for her. It's just the evidence is the 2 + 2 is mathing, right? But she used the phrases that if I remember correctly, in the last 6 years that they've come up with warfare and they've had to battle with warfare and forgiveness, right? Who's warfare? Who is bringing the warfare in your coupling? Who's bringing that to the table? And who's doing the forgiving? Who's had to do the forgiving? Is it you? Is it you that's bringing the warfare into your marriage? Is it your infidelity? Is it your lying? Or is it him? And who's having to do all of the forgiving? Is he having to forgive you for X, Y, and Z? Is he having to battle with, "Oh, well, she's done this several times in my face and it's just becoming harder and harder to forgive"? Is he the one that's doing that, or is it you? I don't know, but let's just check out that update.
I think that is so funny that when somebody talks about going through infidelity in their marriage and they talk about God restoring it, it's automatically God is not in that. And I really do believe that it's the same people who don't really have a relationship with the Lord and may not have read the Bible the way that they think they have, Because yes, I understand that the Bible says that the grounds for divorce is adultery, but I think people also forget or don't remember that Jesus only permitted that because of the hard hearts of the Israelites. Hard hearts being the people that were in my comments saying, I would never, God is not in this, I'm dumb, and speaking all these horrible word curses and evil things against my union. The Bible also said that God hates divorce. So how is it that when there's infidelity, people can say, oh, God ain't in that, but in every other facet of your lives, are you able to see that God is not in that as well? Or is that only saved for those who are going through infidelity or something that they would never, ever, could never see themselves going through? And I want to thank every single person that reached out to me and said that it was encouraging. There were a lot of people that said, Zay, I'm in the same situation. Thank you for talking about it. But what broke my heart is that those same people that messaged me said that they were too afraid to comment because they could literally see how they were tearing me apart in my comments. A lot of the comments, like I said, were very evil. A lot of very evil, bitter people projecting fear onto my marriage, into my union, talking bad about my husband, talking bad about something that happened 6 years ago in the beginning of our marriage. Nobody is God to tell me that that's not the plan that God had for my life. Nobody knows what that journey looks like. And I came on here to share because I knew that more people needed to have softened hearts. More people needed to understand that salvation is not saved for everybody else but adulterers. More people were offended at my story than I was. More people were upset for me. And again, I know that comes from a place of you're not willing to understand what forgiveness really looks like. You're not willing to love other people the way that Christ loves us. And I'm going to continue to share what God does for me and my husband. I'm going to continue to love my husband and tell the world about what God is doing for us. Because I am married to a man who has decided to make changes. A man who has been working to be better for me, for his children. A man who is willing and also is very open and honest about his own personal struggles. And there are a lot of men who are afraid to do just that because there are so many judgmental women who are not willing to show forgiveness and grace and mercy to these men. Honestly, before you fix your mouth to tell me that God is not in this and this is not God's plan for me, please ask yourself, do I even have a relationship with the Lord? Am I in any place to talk about what God would or would not do for anybody else? And I'll say this for all the people that reached out to me and said, thank you because I'm going through this right now. I'm telling you, God can do it. I don't care what nobody says. I don't care how crazy people look at you. I don't care. Nobody knows God's plans for your life. People don't even know God's plans for their own life because they don't have a relationship with him. That's neither here nor there. God can do it. And that's exactly why I gave my testimony, for all the people that did need it, for all the people that could see the way that I see, for all the people that do have the Holy Spirit and can bear witness to what I said, to knowing that God is in this, because God is a redeemer and he is a restorer. And the Bible says nothing is too hard for God. So why would I believe that in adultery, in infidelity, God can't do that? Thank you for your concern, but God bless. I don't really need it. I'm locked in with God. I'm locked in with my husband, and I'm continue to give God the glory.
She don't want to be saved. Don't save her. Not everybody wants to do different. Some people just really, really want to have and keep any booga that they can have and keep. And all of those people, the thing that concerns me the most is not just that this is her story, but the amount of people that are reached out to her, as she said, going through the exact same thing. And her story is encouraging them to stay. I just want to point out 3 things, and then I'm going to close this out because it's a long one. I told y'all it was going to be a long one. Number 1, I didn't even write it in the handy dandy. I wrote it on a piece of paper over here. She said that this happened in the beginning of her marriage. So, according to her, the foundations of her marriage were built on infidelity, cheating, lies, abandonment, deceit, loneliness, a lack of respect, indignity. These are the foundations of her marriage, and she's okay with that. And that's okay. That's not me being passive aggressive. That's me just stating a fact. Once again, this is a 2 + 2 situation. And if she's okay with that, then she's okay with that. Sometimes we just have to let people be okay with the choices that they make. But for the people that are not really sure if they're in a similar situation, if they're in a whatever, this is a conversation space. So that way we could point out the math outside of the hypothetical chicken, okay? She also said that a lot of people don't believe in the power of salvation. She said something along the lines of a lot of people don't believe in the power of salvation and what God has done for people. Just because his salvation is not dependent on you staying married to him. His salvation has nothing to do with you. His salvation has nothing to do with your relationship, your marriage, your children. His salvation has everything to do with him, his character, what he wants, and what he will do, his actions. And what are his actions indicating, moving towards? That's all. That's all. If you are concerned for the soul of somebody else, please know there is nothing that you can do to save them or to damn them. Because listen, a lot of people, there's a lot of juju workers out there, right? There's nothing that you can actually do to save somebody. So if you're staying in a relationship, in a marriage, and whatever, in the hopes of because you say, oh, well, salvation, oh, because this is what the Lord, it's giving projecting. It's giving projecting. So just something to think about. And finally, this is a thing, regardless of what you believe in, this is a thing that a lot of people fall into. Unfortunately, especially as it relates to dating, marrying, being in intimate relationships with men. Just because he's open and honest does not necessarily mean that it's a good thing. Now, being open and honest is good. But he was open and honest with saying, hey, I am being honest with you, and I want you to know that I'm going to cheat on you tonight. Open and honest. And let's say that this is after the fact, after he's like, okay, I'm no longer cheating with that lady, that one specific lady anymore. But I'm going to continue to be honest with you about my feelings of attraction and sexual desire with other women that I see. I just want you to know that because I am open and I am honest and I am working on it and I want to be transparent with you. How does that feel? How does that sound like the kind of, let's say that, and this is not even in this situation, but when men say, hey, I hate insert characteristic here about you. Oh, but I'm just being honest. Hey, you look, insert terrible thing here when you wear, insert whatever your favorite article of clothing is. Hey, I'm just being honest. You see what I mean? Honesty, openness, tact, sensitivity, and empathy, those don't necessarily meet. Those don't necessarily meet. You want somebody where those things can meet. And if they're going through a thing or whatever, they could say that in a way that doesn't break down your spirit. He don't got it. He don't got it. I never met this man and she is fighting. I will never. And I hope that other people resonate with us. Please do not. If you feel the need to get onto Beyonce's internet and talk about and defend a man who disrespected you, that you talked about how he disrespected you and will not show his face to apologize and talk about what he is doing better. If it is all on you and you do that on the internet that I see, please no. I would say I would pray for you, but I'm not here to lie. I'm not here to lie. I will watch the viral video and I might make some commentary and I will wish you the best. But that's as good as it's gonna get. So I would like to hear after this TED Talk, love to hear your thoughts. Please tippity tap them away in the comments section. And I'm gonna talk to you guys later. Stay safe out there.